This is Roy Kessel with Sports Philanthropy Network, live at the MLB Players Trust Gala in Phoenix, Arizona at Warehouse 215. Very excited to have with us another special guest. So introduce yourself and tell us about your amazing organization.
Sure. My name is Quinn. I'm the founder and director of the Baseball Island Foundation in the Dominican Republic. And we're unique. We're a unique organization built to battle a unique problem in the baseball world. It's not everyone knows the full story of baseball in the DR, but it's very different than it is in the U.S. It's sure. In the U.S., Little League is on weekends. High school and college is academic requirements. In the Dominican, that's not the case, and we're working hard to reconnect baseball and education and all the missing pieces for kids there.
So you're not originally from the DR, so
No.
Tell us how you decided that that's where you were going to make an impact.
Ooh, sure. I'm originally from New York City. Played Division I college baseball in the States, George Washington. Ended up coaching some college ball in New York at Columbia. Ended up doing some freelance coaching work with Major League Baseball, Europe, Brazil, and ended up going through the DR a bunch and just fell in love with the baseball culture, the intensity, the passion, the big dreams. But and wanted to get involved, but just saw how things are done traditionally and wanted to do something different.
So one of the things that I noticed right away when we met was your logo.
Yeah,
It's an amazing logo, so show that to the audience and talk about how you came up with that design.
No, I mean it's interesting, but the design really is it's not just we are a baseball foundation. We are the Dominican Republic to me, and I feel to the world is the baseball island. It is the highest level of baseball, the most intense level of baseball anywhere, and just decided what could be more fitting than the island itself with as much of a baseball look to it as we could create. So yeah.
Well, I love it. We had Whiskar on earlier talking about his experience as a young boy growing up in the Dominican. So, you've been down there now. Talk about some of the challenges that you see compared to what we experience here in the United States.
Ooh, I mean, the biggest thing that I've experienced is, again, you hear stories about how tough it is for kids in the DR, but then once I started speaking Spanish and actually hearing the stories from the kids, from their families about what's going on day to day, week to week, it's cliche sounding stuff, but it's the real deal down there. I mean, kids are walking 5-10 miles to practice every day. They don't have shoes and cleats to train with. They don't have gloves. They don't have water. They don't have money. They either have money for lunch money or to pay their coaches. They're often because kids sign so young at 16, they're being identified as prospects at 13, 12, 11, 10, and coaches recognizing that money's going to be going to these kids. They start fighting over 10-year-olds, and it just becomes this ugly thing that's been going on for the last 30 years, where there's plenty of good guys coaching in the DR, but just been stuck in the same routine down there. So we decided I was going to start something different, and just we're going to create a high-level baseball program that it can help you chase your baseball dream. You can become a pro, but if you don't make it, you're not just discarded like everyone down there. You still have. We're going to include. We're going to be the only program in the country that's telling you if you didn't go to school this week, you can't train with us. If you're not taking supplemental English classes, sports psych, math classes, you can't train with us. We don't care if you're going to sign, because we pay our coaches, as a nonprofit from the outside with help from the Players Trust, other foundations, pro players chipping in, individuals. And we've been able to little by little create a program that's flipping the script on what's been going on down there, where it's if you stay in school and take our classes, everything's free, and you get baseball, strength training, meal program, doctors, dentists, food, water, college prep, support to get to the States when you earn your scholarship, just kind of what you would want your kid to have if all the kids that we have in our program were ours. So
Well, that's an amazing network that you've built up. I think one of the things that stands out is the values that you're putting behind it, right? So the value isn't only I want to have the most success on the field, right? The value is I want you to develop as a person. And ultimately, if you end up being good enough to be signed, that's great. But I don't want you walking out of here with nothing, so to speak, where you didn't learn and you didn't develop as a baseball player.
Exactly. No, and it's really the biggest thing. We were talking to our boys in class the other day, and it was it's one of these things where a little bit of a setup, but we said, hey, like, why do you walk miles to the field every day? Why are you working so hard every day? And, we got the answers we expected. I want to be a big leaguer. I want to sign. I want to be an all-star. I want to be a Hall of Famer. I'm like, okay. But then when you're done with that, then what? You played 20 years in the big leagues. You're 40 years old. You're 45 years old. What? Like, why'd you want to be a big leaguer? I wanted to help. I want to take care of my mom, my father, my grandmother, my neighborhood. I want to, And we're just like, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. This is why we have this program. We are going to give you all the tools you need to chase the dream, but whether you make it or not, we're going to make sure that you get to that end goal, that you're able to do what you wanted to do, as a big leaguer, whether you make it there or not. That's the difference.
And I think one of the things that's really interesting that you talk about, there's so many stories about whether they're coaches or agents that are preying on the players that are really leading them down the wrong direction. How are you able to identify or screen which people because you talked about a wide array of people that are interacting with your players. How are you able to identify and screen the ones that have good intent?
It's a good question. I'll tell you what, I was living in the DR full-time for 2 years before we started the program, and honestly, it took a while for me to start it because I wanted to be sure that we had the right people around the kids. Even training coaches instead of finding them, like training strength trainers instead of finding them, making sure we had the right people first instead of who's the best of who's down here, who's already in the business.
And that's a big undertaking. I think people don't understand all of the elements that you laid out there, in terms of the strength training and conditioning and batting and everything else that is part of your program. That's a lot of different skill sets to bring to the table.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. We're asking a lot of our guys. We're asking more than them just showing up for practice and giving it all they have. They're they're full-time students. They're doing extra work in the classroom, and they're also baseball players. They're putting in they're doing the strength training work. They're giving back to younger kids in the community. We're asking them to be, essentially a United States college player load, but in an environment that's not typically asking that much of kids.
So when you look ahead now, you've accomplished a lot getting the program going. Take a look ahead over the next 2 to 3 years and tell us what you see on the horizon.
It's really exciting now to have, to have support from the Players Trust for our meal program and some big leaguers getting behind us, the Dale Murphy Foundation getting behind baseball, Brent Suter coming together with the Players Trust to be our first ever, hopefully first of many, Baseball Island Padrinos sponsoring college kids Dominican student athletes going to college in the U.S. The dream is that we're not just in one state, in one city, in one state, that we're, in multiple, whether it's us or people imitating us, which is fine, we hope people do, that this type of program, Education and Baseball Connected is in, all around the DR. That's why we didn't name it, we named it the Baseball Island Foundation, not the Las Terrenas Foundation or Santo Domingo Foundation. We want it out and everywhere.
Well, Jay, you've done an amazing job. I know you filled out one of our cause cards here, so tell us about what you picked.
I'll tell you what, I didn't really know what to write, but just something, hey, creating impact for our program, for the Baseball Island Foundation, is that the cause is important to me because of the kids. I've been lucky enough that baseball has taken me to over 20 countries. I've never seen kids who put in more hours, more effort, more drive, bigger dreams, and just getting kids there the tools they need, structure and the guidance, the development is off the charts and so fast. So any help we can get, it goes to work quick for the kids, and it's special.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time. Congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. And for all of our viewers and listeners, this is Roy Kessel signing off for Sports Philanthropy Network, live from the MLB Players Trust Gala in Phoenix. Please remember to live generously.